Have you ever wondered if a single bullet could not only end a life, but unravel a web of hidden secrets? Dive into this gripping tale of justice and betrayal and share your thoughts in the comments below. Ethan Harper had always believed in justice. At 42, he was a renowned defense lawyer known for tackling cases others shunned. His corner office overlooked downtown New York, his name etched in gold on the building directory. But nothing mattered more than returning home to his wife of 16 years. Sophia Harper was everything Ethan desired in a partner. At 38, she remained stunningly beautiful, with reddish-brown hair that shimmered in the light and eyes that could captivate a room. More importantly, she was an acclaimed police officer with the New York Police Department, someone who grasped justice as he did, or so he thought. Their 15-year-old daughter, Lily Harper, inherited her mother's beauty and her father's keen intellect. She was their greatest joy, excelling in school and dreaming of following her mother's path into law enforcement. Ethan's brother Nathan Harper often teased that Ethan had hit the jackpot with Sophia. Nathan, a freelance investigator who sometimes collaborated with Ethan's firm, would rib his older brother about his perfect family. Ethan would smile and agree, never suspecting how mistaken they were. The morning of October 15th unfolded like any other. Sophia kissed Ethan goodbye before her shift, promising to grab Italian takeout for dinner. She hugged Lily and reminded her about volleyball practice. Everything was ordinary, routine, ideal. That evening, Ethan's phone rang as he reviewed case files. The caller ID showed NYPD official. "Mr. Harper, this is Captain Marcus Reynolds from the 14th Precinct. I need you to come to New York Hospital right away. There's been an incident with your wife." The world spun. Ethan's hands trembled as he grabbed his keys, his mind racing through scenarios. Car crash, injured on duty. Nothing readied him for what Captain Reynolds said in the hospital hallway. Officer Harper was handling a domestic violence call in Brooklyn. Reynolds explained, his rugged face solemn. The suspect had a gun. Sophia took a shot to the chest. The medics did all they could. Ethan's knees buckled. The cold hospital floor met his knees as reality hit. Sophia was gone. His wife, his child's mother, his lifelong companion dead at 38. The following hours blurred. Lily's cries when he broke the news, Nathan rushing over to manage arrangements, calls from Sophia's colleague, Officer Alex Rivera, offering sympathies and vowing justice. The shooter, a man named Miguel Santos, was arrested on site. She died a hero. Captain Reynolds reassured him. She saved a woman and her kids. That has to mean something. Ethan nodded blankly, but the words rang empty. Hero or not, Sophia was lost, leaving him to gather the fragments of a broken existence. 3 days later, Ethan stood in the Kings County morgue, staring at the white sheet over his wife's body. The funeral director needed confirmations for the service, and Dr. Elias Thornton, the medical examiner, kindly permitted a private viewing. "I know this is tough," Dr. Thornton said softly. "Take as much time as you need." Ethan approached the table with heavy steps. When the sheet was drawn back, Sophia looked serene, almost asleep. The funeral home had expertly concealed the wound, but Ethan's trained eye spotted discrepancies in the makeup around her chest. Dr. Ethan said, his voice hoarse, "Could you show me exactly where she was hit? I need to comprehend what happened." Dr. Thornton hesitated. "Mr. Harper, I'm not sure that's wise. Please, I'm a lawyer. I've seen worse. I just need to know." Reluctantly, Dr. Thornton adjusted the sheet and pointed to a small, clean hole just below Sophia's collarbone. The bullet entered here, angled downward, and lodged near her heart. Death came relatively swiftly. Ethan examined the wound, his legal mind cataloging details automatically. Something seemed off. The trajectory felt unusual for a direct confrontation. "Hold on," Dr. Thornton said, abruptly frowning as he leaned closer. "Look at this." He pointed more closely at the bullet wound. "The bullet is here, but there's something else." Ethan's blood froze. "What do you mean?" Dr. Thornton reached for tweezers from a nearby tray. "When we removed the bullet, we found this embedded behind it. The force must have driven it deeper into the wound." With precise care, he probed the wound path and extracted something small and metallic. Holding it to the light, Ethan's world crumbled again. It was a gold pendant, a delicate jewelry piece shaped like two intertwined hearts. Ethan had never seen it before, but the engraving on the back made his stomach churn. "For my beautiful S. Forever yours, mister," Ethan whispered, his thoughts racing. Then it struck him like a blow. Marcus Reynolds. Captain Marcus Reynolds, who had delivered the news of Sophia's death, who had stood in that hospital hallway offering solace and condolences. Mr. Harper. Dr. Thornton's voice seemed distant. Are you okay? Ethan wasn't okay. He would never be okay again. His wife had worn another man's pendant when she died. Not just any man, her superior, the one who had looked Ethan in the eye and called her a hero. Could this have been forced into the wound by the bullet's impact? Ethan asked, though he knew the answer. Dr. Thornton shook his head. Impossible. It was already inside her clothing, pressed against her skin. The bullet pushed it into the wound path, but she was wearing it when shot. Ethan pocketed the pendant without thinking. His mind was on autopilot now, processing data like in his most intricate cases. But this wasn't a case. This was his life unraveling in real time. Dr. Thornton, Ethan said, his voice steadier than he felt. I need a favor. Don't mention this pendant to anyone, not in your report, not to the police, not to a soul. Can you do that? The examiner looked uneasy. Mr. Harper, I'm not sure I should. My daughter just lost her mother. If word spreads that Sophia was involved with someone, it will shatter what little peace Lily has left. Please. After a long pause, Dr. Thornton nodded. The pendant never existed. But Ethan, what will you do? Ethan gazed at his wife's peaceful face one last time. I'm going to uncover the truth. All of it. Ethan's law office felt altered when he returned the next morning. Everything appeared the same. The mahogany desk, the wall of law books, the framed photos of Sophia and Lily. But nothing would ever be the same. He sat in his leather chair and stared at the pendant, which seemed to taunt him from his desk. His secretary, Maria Gonzalez, had been with the firm for 8 years and knew when something was wrong. Mr. Harper, the funeral is set for tomorrow. Anything else you need? Maria, pull everything we have on Captain Marcus Reynolds, NYPD. Traffic records, property, finances, all public info. She looked surprised, but didn't question it. Ethan was known for thoroughness, and she was used to odd research requests. While she worked, Ethan called his brother, Nathan. I need a discreet background check on who Marcus Reynolds, NYPD Captain, 14th Precinct. There was a pause. Ethan, that's the guy who... I know who he is. Can you do it? Of course, but what's this about? Ethan fingered the pendant. I'll explain later. Just dig into his personal life, who he meets, where he goes, who he's been with. After hanging up, Ethan leaned back and tried to think clearly. The pendant proved Sophia's affair with Reynolds, but it didn't explain her death. Per the official report, she responded to a domestic violence call and was shot by suspect Miguel Santos. Reynolds wasn't even at the scene. By afternoon, both Maria and Nathan returned with info painting a troubling picture. Reynolds was married with 2 teens, but his finances showed regular payments to a downtown apartment, not his home. Phone records from Nathan's telecom contacts revealed frequent calls between Reynolds and Sophia's personal line, often during hours she claimed as overtime. The most condemning evidence came from traffic cameras. Nathan pulled footage from the week before Sophia's death, showing her car parked outside Reynolds' apartment building 3 times. How long do you think this lasted? Nathan asked when delivering the files. Ethan studied the timeline. At least 6 months, maybe more. She started overtime about 8 months ago, said the department was short-staffed. What are you going to do? That was the question Ethan had been dodging. The smart move would be to confront Reynolds privately, perhaps threaten to expose the affair unless he relocated. The legal way would be to report to internal affairs and let the department handle it. But Ethan Harper wasn't feeling smart or legal. He felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious in a way that made his hands shake. I'm going to ruin him, Ethan said quietly. Both of them. Both, Ethan. Sophia's dead. Her reputation isn't, and neither is her memory with Lily. Ethan looked at his brother with cold resolve. When I'm done, no one will remember Sophia Harper as a hero. They'll remember her as a deceitful officer who died with her lover's pendant around her neck. Nathan looked uneasy. That sounds harsh. You know it's harsh. 15 years of marriage being a lie. Lily thinking her mother was perfect when she wasn't. Reynolds standing in that hospital calling her a hero while knowing what kind of woman she truly was. Ethan stood and walked to his window overlooking the city he'd protected through law his entire career. Now, the law felt inadequate for what he needed. There's more, Nathan said reluctantly. I looked into the shooting. Miguel Santos, the guy who killed Sophia, no history of domestic violence. His girlfriend says it was out of character. She's claiming he was framed. Ethan turned back to his brother. Framed how? She says someone called Santos telling him she was cheating with another guy, gave an address and said he'd catch them. Santos went there with a gun, but instead of finding his girlfriend with a man, he found Sophia Harper. The implications hit Ethan like a hammer. Someone used Santos as a tool. That's what it looks like. The question is, who Ethan thought about Reynolds' demeanor at the hospital. The man had been calm, almost resigned. Not like someone who'd lost a lover, but like someone expecting bad news. Find out who called Santos, Ethan said, and discover where Reynolds was when Sophia was shot. Ethan, if Reynolds orchestrated Sophia's murder, then he used my wife and killed her when she became a burden. And if that's true, ruining his reputation won't be enough. Ethan's phone buzzed with a text from Lily asking when he'd be home. He looked at the message and felt something hard and cold settle in his chest. His daughter was mourning a mother unworthy of her tears. His marriage had been a sham, his life built on lies. But Ethan Harper was a man who understood justice, and sometimes justice demanded methods courts couldn't offer. The funeral was a masterpiece of deception. Hundreds of police officers in dress blues lined the street outside St. Michael's Cathedral. Captain Reynolds delivered a eulogy portraying Sophia as a devoted wife, mother, and officer who died protecting others. The mayor attended. The police commissioner spoke of Sophia's exemplary record. Ethan sat in the front pew with Lily, who sobbed quietly against his shoulder, and watched it all with growing disgust. Every word of praise felt like a knife twist. Every flower, every honor guard salute, every mention of Sophia's heroism was built on falsehood. Reynolds approached them after the service. Ethan, if you need anything, just call. Sophia was special. We all loved her. Ethan shook the man's hand and looked into his eyes, searching for guilt or grief. All he saw was a calculated act. Thank you, Marcus. I know how much she meant to the department. That evening, after the last guest left and Lily cried herself to sleep, Ethan sat in his study with a glass of whiskey and a growing file of evidence. Nathan had been busy. The call to Miguel Santos came from a burner phone bought with cash 3 days before the shooting. The store's security camera showed a man in a baseball cap and sunglasses making the purchase, but the build and gait matched Reynolds. More incriminating was Reynolds' location during the shooting. He told investigators he was home with family, but traffic cameras showed his car leaving 20 minutes before Sophia was shot and returning an hour after her death was confirmed. The picture was clarifying, and it was uglier than Ethan imagined. Reynolds hadn't just had an affair with Sophia. He'd arranged her murder when she became a liability. Ethan's phone rang. It was Nathan. Found something else, his brother said without preamble. Sophia had life insurance through the department, $1 million policy, so the beneficiary was recently changed. Instead of just you and Lily, it now includes a trust she set up 3 months ago. Guess who's the trustee? Ethan's blood turned to ice. Reynolds. Spot on. She was channeling money to him. And upon death, he'd access 1/3 of the payout through that trust. Ethan set down his whiskey with a steady hand. She was going to leave me. Looks like it. There are apartment applications in her name, divorce papers never filed, even school transfer requests for Lily. The betrayal was complete. Sophia hadn't just cheated. She'd planned to dismantle their family and take their daughter. Reynolds had manipulated her, used her, and when things got messy, eliminated her and framed an innocent man. One more thing, Nathan said. Santos's girlfriend. She's been getting death threats since she started talking about the setup. Someone wants her quiet. Ethan closed his eyes. An innocent man sat in jail for murder. His girlfriend was being terrorized into silence. And the real killer walked free, collecting sympathies and planning to cash in on his victim's policy. Nathan, I need you to do something. Name it. Dig up everything on Reynolds' family. His wife, kids' routines, vulnerabilities, and locate Santos's girlfriend. I want to talk to her. Ethan, what are you scheming? Ethan opened his eyes and stared at the framed photo of Sophia and Lily on his desk. In it, Sophia smiled, arm around their daughter, looking every bit the loving mother and faithful wife. It was all a lie. I'm going to give Reynolds exactly what he gave Sophia, a setup so flawless that by the time he realizes it'll be too late to stop. And if you get caught, I won't, because unlike Reynolds, I won't be careless. And unlike Sophia, I won't underestimate those I'm betraying. Ethan hung up and went to his safe. Inside, with important documents and cash, was his father's World War II service revolver. Ethan had never fired it but kept it maintained and loaded as an heirloom. He held the gun in his hands and pondered justice. Courts would give Reynolds a trial, perhaps conviction if proven. But even guilty, he'd live in prison while Sophia's reputation stayed intact. And Lily kept mourning a mother undeserving. That wasn't justice. That was just law. And sometimes Ethan was starting to grasp justice required a more personal approach. He locked the gun away and returned to his desk. Tomorrow he'd start planning. Reynolds had made a fatal error. He'd assumed Ethan was just another grieving widower who'd accept the official narrative and move on. He'd never been more wrong in his life. Ethan's first step was contacting Miguel Santos's girlfriend, Carla Ruiz. She was in a safe house run by a women's shelter, having fled her apartment after the third death threat. When Ethan finally located her through legal aid contacts, she was suspicious and terrified. "I've already told the police everything she said when Ethan visited the shelter. No one believes me." Carla was 26, with weary eyes and fidgety hands. She worked as a waitress at a South Side diner and had dated Santos for 2 years. According to her, he was gentle, never violent, and utterly devastated by what he'd done. "Miguel keeps saying someone tricked him. She told Ethan he got a call claiming I was cheating, that I'd be at this address with another man. He was so hurt, so angry. He just wanted to confront, not kill anyone." Ethan leaned forward. "Carla, I believe you and I think I know who framed Miguel." Her eyes widened. "You do?" "The officer who was killed. She was having an affair with her captain. I think he wanted her dead and used Miguel to do it." Carla stared. "You're her husband, yes, and I want to help prove Miguel was manipulated." It took 2 hours of careful talk, but eventually Carla agreed to cooperate. She'd saved voicemails from the threats, and Ethan's trained ear detected something in the caller's voice. A slight accent, a particular rhythm that reminded him of Reynolds. His next stop was the NYPD's Internal Affairs Division. Ethan had done legal work for several IA investigators over the years, and he called in a favor with Officer Arthur Lowe. "I need you to look into something off the record," Ethan told Lowe over coffee at a downtown diner. "Captain Marcus Reynolds and Officer Sophia Harper." Lowe raised an eyebrow. "Your wife Ethan, I heard about the shooting. Sorry for your loss." "Thanks, but I have reason to believe Reynolds was inappropriately involved with Sophia." Ethan showed Lowe copies of the financial records and call logs, careful not to mention the pendant or his murder suspicions. IA investigators were good at following paper trails, but bound by rules and oversight. "This is concerning," Lowe admitted after reviewing. "If Reynolds was involved with a subordinate, that's a major policy violation. I want him investigated discreetly. Ethan, you know I can't promise anything. If we find wrongdoing, we follow protocol. I get it. Just look into it." "Please." Lowe agreed. And Ethan left feeling like he'd ignited the first spark. Internal Affairs would start poking around Reynolds, making him nervous, forcing errors. That afternoon, Ethan met his most trusted private investigator, a woman named Angelica Parsons, who specialized in surveillance and electronic monitoring. Angelica had aided him on several high-profile cases and was known for discretion and tech skills. "I need you to tail someone," Ethan told her. "Captain Marcus Reynolds, NYPD. This is about your wife, isn't it?" "Yes." "What am I looking for exactly?" Ethan hesitated. How much to tell her? Too little and she might miss key details. Too much and she might deem the job too risky. I think Reynolds was involved with Sophia and may have had a hand in her death. Angelica's expression stayed neutral. She'd heard worse. "Want electronic surveillance too, wiretaps, computer tracking, whatever you can do legally, and if legal means fall short." Ethan met her gaze. "Then we'll discuss alternatives." She nodded and quoted her fee. Ethan agreed without haggling. Money was the least of his worries now. That evening, Ethan sat down with Lily for the first real talk since the funeral. His daughter was struggling, alternating between sorrow and anger, barely eating, sleeping poorly. She'd inherited Sophia's looks, but Ethan's smarts, and was asking questions he wasn't ready for. "Dad, why did Mom have to handle that call? Couldn't another officer go?" Ethan chose his words carefully. Sometimes officers must respond to emergencies even off duty. Your mom was brave, but the man who shot her, why did he have a gun? Why was he so mad? These were questions with innocent answers if the official story held, but knowing what Ethan knew now, they felt like stabs. Some people make poor choices when angry. Honey, that's why your mom's job mattered. She protected people from those choices. Lily nodded. But Ethan could see she wasn't fully satisfied. She was too clever, too perceptive. Eventually, she'd connect dots. ask tougher questions, demand answers he couldn't give without destroying her faith in what she knew about her mom unless he acted first. That night, Ethan stood in his study surveying the evidence spread across his desk. Financial surveillance photos, call logs, witness statements. It painted a clear picture of betrayal and murder, but not enough for court. However, it was sufficient for a different kind of justice. Ethan opened his laptop and began typing. If Reynolds wanted to toy with lives, Ethan would show him how a true strategist plays. The captain had erred in thinking Ethan was just another victim to manipulate. He was about to learn how wrong he was. 3 weeks after Sophia's funeral, Ethan's plan took shape. Angelica's surveillance revealed Reynolds' patterns. He visited the downtown apartment twice a week, always Tuesday and Thursday evenings. He told his wife he was working late, but the apartment was where he'd met Sophia, and now apparently someone new. "Who's the new woman?" Ethan asked Angelica during their weekly update. "Joyce Burton, 29, police dispatcher, single, no kids, lives alone." Angelica showed him photos of a blonde entering and leaving Reynolds' apartment. "She started appearing about a week after your wife's funeral." Ethan studied the images. Reynolds wasn't grieving Sophia. He'd already replaced her. The cold calculation strengthened Ethan's resolve. Arthur Lowe's internal affairs probe was advancing slowly but steadily. Reynolds was being questioned about his ties to Sophia, and per Lowe, the captain was getting anxious. "He's lawyered up," Lowe told Ethan over lunch. "That usually means he knows he's in trouble." "What have you uncovered enough to confirm the affair?" "We can prove they were involved, but linking wrongdoing to her death will be harder." "Reynolds' alibi for the shooting night is weak, but not absent." Ethan nodded. He'd anticipated that. Reynolds was too savvy to leave obvious murder evidence, but not savvy enough for Ethan's plan. The key to Ethan's scheme was Miguel Santos. The man was in Kings County Jail awaiting trial for Sophia's murder, slowly unraveling from guilt and confusion. His public defender was overburdened and underpaid, treating it as a straightforward killing with an obvious culprit. Ethan arranged to visit Santos through legal community connections. The man was broken, barely eating, aged years and weeks since the shooting. "I didn't mean to kill anyone," Santos told Ethan through the jail's plexiglass. "I just thought someone told me Carla was cheating. I wanted to catch them, make them explain. I never intended to hurt that woman." Ethan leaned in. "Miguel, I'll ask something and think hard. Did you recognize the caller's voice at all?" Santos shook his head. It was distorted, like they were disguising it, but definitely an older man. "He knew things about Carla, about our relationship. I thought maybe someone from her work." "What things?" "He knew we'd fought about her late shifts. He knew I worried she was drifting away, like he'd been watching us." Ethan filed that away. Reynolds had access to police databases, surveillance tools, ways to gather intel on potential pawns like Santos. "Miguel, if I can prove someone tricked you to that address, would you testify?" Hope flickered in Santos's eyes. "You think I was set up? I think you were used as a weapon, and I can prove it." Ethan's next move was the most delicate. He needed Reynolds to expose himself, make a mistake revealing guilt. And he knew how. Through Angelica, Ethan learned Reynolds' wife, Caroline O'Brien Reynolds, had her own issues. Their marriage was strained, finances tight despite his captain's salary, and their teen kids were acting out. Caroline was a school administrator active in community groups, a typical cop's wife trying to keep normalcy while her husband's job consumed family life. Ethan opted to approach her indirectly. He arranged accidental encounters at a coffee shop near her office, chatting about raising teens. Caroline was lonely, stressed, eager to talk to someone who seemed to understand. "Marcus has been so distant lately," she confided during their third chance meeting. "Ever since that officer died, Officer Harper, he's working more hours, drinking more. Coming home angry." Ethan offered sympathy while probing gently. "That must be hard on the family when something like that happens." "It is. And Marcus was so close to her professionally. I mean, he keeps saying he should have protected her better." "Close professionally." Caroline's face darkened. "Maybe too close. There were rumors you know about him and some female officers." I tried not to listen, but Ethan's pulse quickened. "That must be tough to handle. I found receipts for fancy dinners at places we never went, hotel charges on his card. When I asked, he said work expenses, but—" She trailed off, embarrassed at sharing so much with a relative stranger. Ethan provided gentle support, positioning himself as a safe confidant. Over the next week, he carefully built Caroline's trust while planting seeds of doubt about her husband's fidelity and honesty. The breakthrough came when Caroline mentioned Marcus getting calls at odd hours since Sophia's death. He says work, but takes them in the garage like he doesn't want me hearing. That night, Ethan called Angelica. I need you to monitor Reynolds' phones. All of them. Work, personal, any burners he's using. That'll require creative legal boundary interpretation. Do whatever it takes. Angelica's electronic surveillance revealed Reynolds was using a burner to communicate with someone whose number traced to criminal defense attorney Stuart Wright. Wright was known for representing dirty cops and organized crime. Exactly the lawyer one would call to cover a murder. Ethan researched Wright's clients and found names that chilled him. The attorney had defended officers in evidence tampering, witness intimidation, and even a suspected hit that never went to trial. The pieces were fitting. Reynolds killed Sophia, framed Santos, and was now working with a shady lawyer to keep his crime hidden. But he'd made one key mistake. He'd underestimated Ethan's counterstrike ability. Ethan's plan was elegant in simplicity. He'd force Reynolds to reveal guilt by threatening what he valued more than freedom, his reputation and family security, and he'd do it ensuring Reynolds could never harm anyone again. The trap was set. Now Ethan just had to spring it. The first crack in Reynolds' composure came when Internal Affairs officially launched their probe. Arthur Lowe called Ethan to report. Reynolds was on administrative leave pending the inquiry into his relationship with Sophia. He's scared. Lowe said scared people err. Reynolds' first error was calling Wright from his personal phone instead of the burner. Angelica's surveillance captured the conversation, and what she heard made Ethan's blood boil. The IA thing is heating up, Reynolds said on the recording. They're asking about Sophia, about the money. Did you clear the apartment? Wright's voice was gravelly professional. Yeah, but there might be other evidence, photos, maybe videos. She was always snapping pictures. What kind of photos? The kind that could end my marriage and career. Ethan listened to the recording 3 times, memorizing every word. Reynolds and Wright were worried about affair exposing evidence, but not discussing the murder outright. They were cautious, using code. But Ethan didn't need a taped confession. He needed panic. His next move was having Angelica plant evidence that someone was closing in on the truth about Sophia's murder. She hacked Wright's email and left a draft in his deleted folder appearing from an anonymous tipster offering to sell info on what really happened to Officer Harper. The email was vague enough to be credible, but specific enough to terrify Reynolds if seen. It mentioned the burner used to call Santos and hinted at a witness spotting Reynolds near the crime scene. Within hours, Wright was calling Reynolds in panic. We have a problem, Wright said on the monitored call. Someone knows about the Santos setup. Impossible. No evidence. There's always evidence if you know where to look. This anonymous source claims proof you were near the scene during the shooting. Reynolds' breathing became audible. What do they want? Money? A lot. But Marcus, if this leaks, it won't. I'll handle it. The talk ended abruptly, but Ethan had heard enough. Reynolds would try to eliminate the anonymous witness, a witness who didn't exist. Ethan's next step was arranging a meeting between Reynolds and the fictional witness. Using an encrypted email, he contacted Wright's office posing as the tipster and demanding an in-person meet to negotiate evidence sale. The meeting was scheduled for the next evening at a warehouse in the South Side Industrial District. Ethan chose the spot carefully isolated for privacy but covered by security cameras to document everything. On meeting night, Ethan positioned himself with a perfect view of the warehouse entrance. He brought his father's revolver and a digital camera with telephoto lens. Angelica was stationed across the street with her gear. Reynolds arrived 20 minutes early, confirming his nerves. He carried a briefcase, presumably with buy money, and kept scanning around. At exactly 9 p.m., a figure approached the warehouse. Ethan grinned grimly, recognizing the man. Ricardo Singleton, a professional enforcer linked to Wright's criminal clients. Reynolds wasn't planning to buy silence. He was ensuring it permanently. Ethan waited until Singleton entered, then called Reynolds' cell. Captain Reynolds. Who is this? Someone who knows what you did to Sophia Harper and Miguel Santos. Reynolds' voice chilled. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. I know about the burner phone. I know you were near the scene when Sophia was shot. I know you framed Santos to take the fall. You have no proof. Actually, I do. I have photos of you buying the burner. I have traffic cam footage of your car leaving home the night Sophia died. Most importantly, I have this. Ethan described the pendant without saying how he got it. Reynolds' sharp intake told him all. Where did you get that? Does it matter? The point is, I have evidence proving Sophia was your lover and you orchestrated her murder. The question is what you'll do to keep it private. What do you want? Ethan smiled. I want you to come outside alone. Leave your friend in the warehouse. What friend? Ricardo Singleton, the enforcer you brought to kill me. Did you really think I'd be dumb enough to walk into your trap? Silence stretched nearly 30 seconds. Then Reynolds spoke, his voice barely controlled. Who are you? I'm Justice Captain. Something you've forgotten. Come out now or I start calling reporters. Ethan watched through his lens as Reynolds emerged from the warehouse, frantically looking for the voice's source. I'm here, Reynolds said. Now what? Now you confess. Tell me exactly what you did to Sophia and why. I'm not confessing anything. Then, I guess your wife will be interested in the affair. Internal Affairs will love the evidence I'm turning over, and the FBI will investigate your ties to Ricardo Singleton and Stuart Wright. Ethan could see Reynolds' hands shaking on the phone. The man was breaking, trapped between impossible choices: admit murder or watch his life collapse. You don't understand, Reynolds finally said. Sophia was going to ruin everything. She was leaving her husband, taking the kid, demanding I leave my wife. She talked about going public if I didn't. She'd destroy both families. So you killed her. I had no choice. She was out of control, threatening, talking about exposing department corruption. I tried reasoning, but she wouldn't listen. Ethan's finger tightened on the camera shutter, capturing every word, every guilty expression. Tell me about Santos. Santos was convenient. His girlfriend worked at the diner where Sophia and I sometimes met. He was jealous, paranoid, easy to manipulate. I just gave him a push in the right direction by saying his girlfriend was cheating and giving Sophia's location. It was supposed to look random. A disturbed guy kills an officer in a domestic dispute. No one would scrutinize. Ethan had heard enough. The confession was complete, recorded, documented. Reynolds had just admitted first-degree murder and conspiracy, but Ethan wasn't done yet. Captain Reynolds. Ethan said into the phone, still hidden in surveillance position. Do you know who you're speaking to? No. My name is Ethan Harper. Sophia was my wife. The impact was immediate and devastating. Reynolds staggered back as if struck, his face paling under the warehouse lights. That's impossible. You don't know. I know everything. I know about the apartment you rented for affairs. I know about the insurance money you planned to steal. I know you manipulated my wife into betraying her family, and when she became inconvenient, you had her murdered. Reynolds dropped his briefcase, hands visibly trembling. Ethan, listen. You don't understand what Sophia was like. She was careful. Ethan's voice cut through the night like ice. You're talking about my child's mother, the woman I loved for 16 years before you corrupted her. She wasn't innocent. She came to me. She pursued it. She was unhappy with her marriage, her life. I didn't force anything. Ethan felt rage building in his chest, but kept his voice level. Maybe, but you did force her into a grave. Reynolds looked around desperately, seeking an escape. What do you want from me? I want you to understand something. You didn't just kill my wife. You stole my daughter's mother. You made my child grieve a woman planning to abandon her. You ruined an innocent man's life by framing him for murder. You're not just a killer, Reynolds. You're a plague. I can fix this. I can testify Santos was set up, drop the charges. I can admit the affair, take responsibility for my mistakes. Ethan nearly laughed. Your mistakes? You think this was a mistake? Please, Ethan. I have kids too. A family. If this comes out, your family will learn what kind of man you really are. Just like mine did. Ethan stepped from hiding, finally revealing himself. He kept the gun concealed, but ready, camera capturing, as Reynolds saw him first. You've been recording this, Reynolds said, realization dawning. Every word. And it's uploaded to secure servers with release instructions. If anything happens to me, did you think I'd confront you without backup? Reynolds' face cycled through emotions. Fear, anger, despair, scheming. Ethan saw him calculating options, realizing none. What now? Reynolds asked. Now you face a choice. Take the easy path, write a full confession, turn yourself in, maybe spare your family the worst publicity. Or fight, and I'll dismantle you publicly, piece by piece, starting with releasing this conversation to every New York news outlet. And if I confess, Miguel Santos goes free. Your family learns the truth quietly instead of in papers, and you serve time knowing you did one decent thing at the end. Reynolds stared at Ethan long. You planned all this. The anonymous witness, the meeting, everything. I learned from watching you. The difference is, my target deserved it. A sound from the warehouse reminded them Ricardo Singleton was inside awaiting orders that wouldn't come. What about him? Reynolds nodded toward the building. He'll be very disappointed, but that's your issue, not mine. Ethan pulled his phone and showed the screen. I'm calling 911 in exactly 60 seconds. You can stay when they arrive or vanish and run the rest of your life. But either way, evidence goes public tomorrow morning. Reynolds closed his eyes, the weight of choices crushing him. When he opened them, Ethan saw a broken man who knew his life as known was over. My kids, Reynolds whispered. They'll hate me. They should, just like my daughter would hate her mother if she knew the truth. Are you telling her? Ethan considered. Lily was young, resilient, still able to heal from loss without added betrayal burden. No, some lies are kinder than truth, but only when those responsible for lies are dead or imprisoned. Reynolds nodded slowly. I'll confess, but I want immunity for my wife. She knew nothing. Your wife isn't my concern. My only interest is ensuring you never hurt anyone again. Ethan's phone showed 30 seconds. Decide now, Reynolds. Easy or hard? Easy, Reynolds said, voice barely audible. Ethan dialed 911. This is Ethan Harper. I'm at Warehouse 47 on Industrial Boulevard. I have Captain Marcus Reynolds of the NYPD here, and he wants to confess to murdering Officer Sophia Harper. As sirens wailed in the distance, Reynolds looked at Ethan one last time. Does this make you feel better, getting revenge? Ethan thought of Sophia's lies. Lily's tears, Miguel Santos in jail for a manipulated crime. Ask me after sentencing, he said. 6 months later, Ethan sat in his office reading final reports on what media dubbed the Reynolds conspiracy. The ex-captain was sentenced to life without parole for first-degree murder of Officer Sophia Harper. Stuart Wright faced federal charges for conspiracy and evidence tampering. Ricardo Singleton was arrested and cooperating for reduced sentence. Miguel Santos was free, his conviction overturned based on Reynolds' manipulation evidence. Carla Ruiz moved to another state with financial aid from a victim fund Ethan quietly established. Both were rebuilding after being unwitting pawns in Reynolds' game. The probe revealed Reynolds' full corruption, 3 other affairs with subordinates, evidence tampering in at least a dozen cases, and organized crime links via Wright's network. Internal Affairs cleaned house with 4 other officers facing charges related to Reynolds' activities. Lily knocked on Ethan's office door, interrupting his reading. At 16, she'd grown taller, more confident, but still carried shadows of trauma from losing her mother. Dad ready to go. Ethan smiled and closed the file. Today they were moving from the house where Sophia had lived and lied for so many years. They'd found a new place across town, smaller but brighter, with no betrayal memories embedded in the walls. Just wrapping up some paperwork. How do you feel about the move? Lily shrugged. Good. I think it'll be weird not living in Mom's house anymore, but maybe that's okay. Over the past 6 months, Ethan had carefully let Lily process grief naturally, while gradually helping her see her mother as complex, flawed human. He'd never told her about the affair or death circumstances, but helped her understand hero worship isn't healthy and people can be good and bad simultaneously. Dad, can I ask something? Always, were you and Mom happy? Really happy. Sometimes I remember arguments, times when things felt tense. I used to think I imagined it. Ethan chose words carefully. Your mom and I loved each other, but our marriage wasn't perfect. No marriage is. People change, drift apart sometimes. But that doesn't mean the good times weren't real. Lily nodded thoughtfully. I've been thinking about what to do after high school. I don't think I want to be a cop anymore. What do you want? Maybe law school like you, but I want to help people hurt by the system. People who need someone to fight for them when no one else will. Ethan felt a surge of pride. His daughter was choosing justice over vengeance, advocacy over enforcement. She'd be stronger than either parent. I think that's a wonderful idea, and I'll help however I can. They drove to the new house together, listening to music and discussing Lily's senior year plans. As they pulled into the driveway, Ethan's phone rang. It was Arthur Lowe from Internal Affairs. Ethan wanted to let you know. Reynolds tried hanging himself in his cell last night. Ethan felt no satisfaction, no joy. Just weary acknowledgement that some prefer death to facing choice consequences. Is he alive? Yeah, on suicide watch now, but thought you should know. Thanks for the call. Lily looked at him curiously. Everything okay? Just work stuff. Nothing important. That evening, as they unpacked boxes in their new home, Ethan found himself reflecting on justice and revenge, the difference between them, and if it mattered in the end. Reynolds was imprisoned, Santos' free truth revealed. But Sophia was still dead, and Ethan still a widower, raising a teen daughter alone. Revenge had been satisfying momentarily, but didn't bring Sophia back or erase betrayal. What it did was restore balance, ensuring the guilty were punished and innocence protected. Nathan stopped by to help with the move, bringing pizza and beer for adult soda for Lily. So he said when Lily was out of earshot any regrets about how it all went down, Ethan considered while unpacking books for his new study. No regrets about Reynolds. He got exactly what he deserved. What about Sophia? Ethan paused, holding a framed photo of Sophia and Lily from better times. I regret not truly knowing the woman I married. I regret Lily losing her mom so young. I regret Reynolds corrupting someone I loved, but not that she's dead. It was a brutal question, but Nathan earned the right to ask after helping uncover the truth. No, Ethan said finally. Not that she's dead. She made her choices leading to consequences. I just ensured the right person paid for them. Lily called from the kitchen for help, and Ethan put the photo away. The past was finished, settled, done. What mattered now was building a future for him and his daughter, a future based on truth over lies, strength over betrayal. As he walked to the kitchen to help Lily, Ethan felt something he hadn't in months. Peace. Not happiness that would come later if at all, but deep satisfaction knowing justice was served and he'd protected those who mattered most. The old Ethan Harper believed in law courts procedures, official justice. The new Ethan understood sometimes justice required a more personal touch. He'd learned to be lawyer and judge, investigator and executor. And if another predator threatened his family, Ethan was ready to teach that lesson again. Outside, snow began falling on their new neighborhood, blanketing everything in clean white silence. Ethan smiled and went to help his daughter build their new life together. From this story, we learn that justice sometimes demands personal courage beyond the system, and betrayal can come from the closest people, reminding us to cherish loyalty and beware hidden secrets. The key message is, live authentically, for lies will eventually be exposed, and justice in whatever form always finds its way.